Hi, it's Dave T here, and back in April of 2019 I purchased the Lowepro ProTactic 450 AW free bag as an alternative for the ProTactic 350 that I've been using up until that point. Now at that time I posted this video here online which was basically showing every single conceivable dimension I could think of the bag, because I just couldn't find that information either from the manufacturer or online on the various reviews and so on. So roll forward about 18 months and I've just purchased this, which is the Lowepro SL 250 AW Slingshot. And the plan with this one is to make another video showing all of the dimensions of this bag in as precise a detail as possible. However, we're not going to do it here. Because the reason I purchased the Slingshot was for those shorter, more spur-of-the-moment type trips. Now don't get me wrong, the AW IIII is a great bag and I will still continue to use it, but it's also a great big bag, and there's occasions when I've wanted to go out filming, didn't want to take just a bare camera and a spare lens, needed something to carry it in but didn't really want to take a full-on rig, and the AW IIII is so big that even things like just putting it under a table in a cafe becomes a bit awkward. So that's why I went for the Slingshot as something much more minimalist, and that's what we're going to try out today. So with all that said, let's have a look at the Slingshot, measure it, get all the details I possibly can about it, and also show a little bit of information about how I'm actually going to use it. As you'd expect from a Lowepro product, the Slingshot is well manufactured, with the outer covering being made of 3 different weaves of ripstop material. The lower half has a honeycomb pattern coating to give it extra protection against wear and dirt. The outer materials appear to be water resistant at least, but the zippers are neither covered or of the sealed variety, so the bag on its own should not be considered waterproof in anything other than light rain. There is a supplied rain cover to more thoroughly seal the bag, and this is detachable, which is a good thing as it takes up a surprising amount of room when packed. Style-wise, it's a little more boxy than the Slingshot Edge, which I also considered. The Edge version has a little less space, well, at least the stated dimensions are smaller, but Lowepro only quote the SL's volume and don't do the same for the Edge. Whilst not as pretty as the Edge, it does seem to be a bit more practical in terms of usable space. Not the fanciest start for a video in a Tesco's car park, but we're going to take a walk along the, is it Blackwater, I think? Sticking to the outer features of the bag, there's a simple uncushioned strap on the top to pick up the bag. Meanwhile, a wide opening in the webbing at the bottom is sufficient to pull the bag from overhead lockers and such. On the right hand side there is a pouch which can be used to either carry a bottle or for one leg of a tripod when carried on the side, attached to the upper webbing loop with the supplied accessory strap. The accessory strap incidentally has a maximum length of about 38 centimetres. The largest bottle I managed to safely insert into the bottle pouch was 7 centimetres diameter. Now that's not big for a water bottle, and it's worth noting that at that diameter it was pressing in on the main device compartment, so in reality I found a bottle of about 6 centimetres was more realistic. On the base there are 2 straps which Lowepro refer to as safety straps for ensuring that the main compartment is not accidentally unzipped too far. Either of these can be used to lock the zip to avoid pickpockets and such. They are also extendable to hold something such as a tripod up to a 9 centimetre diameter. There's a zip pocket on the top front face of the bag, giving you about a 17.5 centimetre opening into a pocket that extends 12 centimetres down and 5 centimetres up. This pocket is subdivided, with the back section being made of an orange soft anti-scratch material. Over the top arch of the bag there is a longer zip which opens up to the top compartment, which is divided in 3 ways. The back of this compartment, that is the side that goes up against your back, has a large pocket designed to hold a tablet or laptop. This design is a personal bugbear for me, since laptops are typically hard and flat and human backs, well, they're not. For the record, the largest solid rectangle I managed to fit into this pocket was about 30 centimetres by 20 centimetres, about 0.8 centimetres thick. If your device is thicker, then I'd recommend reducing the viable width and length just a touch. There are 4 horizontal webbing strap loops for organisation and a 5th smaller vertical one. A 15cm long key lanyard, 2 pen type pockets, each 13.5cm deep, and a non-gusseted pocket on the front side, which is 14cm by 14cm. Overall, the top compartment is 18cm at its tallest, 21.5cm wide and 11cm deep. There's a wraparound hatch cover for the lower section, which opens up either partly for a side opening of approximately 17cm by 13cm, and this is useful for accessing gear whilst wearing the bag by pulling it around the torso until it hangs horizontally in front of you. There are 3 catches around the opening, 2 of which will stop it from fully opening when slung horizontally. The internal catch, to be honest, is a bit of a faff to latch, and I suspect it won't get used often. The lower buckle, though, is actually easy enough to attach and well worth using. I measured the internal dimensions of the lower compartment as being 22cm wide, 11.5cm deep and 21cm tall. The bag comes with 1 long divider with multiple bend points and an attachment loop, then an additional 4 square dividers, 3 of which are grey and can bend in half, and then there's also an orange one. Now the orange divider has a loop at the top to help you be able to kind of pull it, and 2 diagonal bed marks which are supposed to allow it to bend kind of out of the way to access things below it when accessing from the side. Now this sort of works, but in reality I end up just actually kind of pulling it away and then reattaching it. Either way, it works, probably not exactly how they intended it to. Lowepro do seem to have skimped just a tad on the Velcro strips around the compartment, which isn't a major issue, but a couple of times when I was thinking of arranging the dividers in a certain way, I couldn't get an attachment point, particularly on the base. Not a massive deal, but something to consider. In terms of layout, I've put my EOS R fitted with my go-to 35mm lens pointing inwards. My second RF lens, an 85mm macro, is then in front of it pointing along the length of the bag. Now this may not look like the most obvious orientation, but I put it here for 2 reasons. Firstly, it means I can access via either the main hatch when fully opened or at a push from the side. And actually, whilst filming this particular trip, I did see some swans along the path, and while standing actually swapped the lens. So I took the 35mm off, got the 85mm out, put the 85mm on, put the 35mm away, all while standing with the bag actually still on my back, because I didn't want to sit down in the mud or get too close to the swans. So from that point of view, it does actually work quite well. I was surprised I actually managed to do that without dropping anything. The second reason for putting it along the side like that is it means that it's not actually near the base when I put the bag down. Okay, now I appreciate if I put the bag on its side, then it is on the side, but it's always going to be something like that. But I just don't like the idea of having everything right at the bottom where you might drop it or put it down in a hurry. In the lower part of the bottom compartment, on one side I have a spare battery stored in a small rig pouch and attached via a lanyard strap so it doesn't fall out. And also I have a small rig multi-tool, again attached by a lanyard in its bag so it doesn't fall out. On the other side I have ND filters and a small microphone. One thing to watch out with this design is how unrestrained the camera is when the bag is open. Unusually, the single strap exacerbates the problem, since when you place the bag down on a surface, the strap naturally falls on the far side away from the hatch. Now this means that the whole bag tilts slightly more towards the hatch. So if you do open the hatch then, either to open it partly or fully, then the camera is immediately kind of pointing down towards the surface. So if you're putting it on a cafe table or something like that and doing it, then there's a danger of it sliding out into your lap. Something to be mindful of, but not a major problem. In the top compartment today I have my Mavic Mini along with the controller and spare batteries. So overall, what are my impressions of the Slingshot? Well, in terms of capacity, it's very difficult to judge because the idea of getting this bag is that it's small. It's certainly way smaller than the 350, and it's actually almost a perfect size, because today I've had 2 lenses, camera, spare battery, relevant tools, Mavic Mini, and it's been fine to carry. It's not anywhere near as heavy as the rig I normally end up carrying around. It's convenient. I actually popped into Tesco's to get some sandwiches and stuff and had it over my back while I was doing that. It doesn't look out of place particularly. So from that point of view, it's great. In terms of build quality, as usual with Lowepro stuff, it's great. So it's really good quality there. So there's nothing really to criticize from that point of view. Comfort wise, and this is completely subjective, the first thing, that not really a comfort issue, but what I did find straight away was I'm constantly trying to put it on the wrong way round, because I'm used to obviously normal rucksacks where you put the right hand strap on your right shoulder and so on, whereas this, it's kind of on the left but you put your head in through the right and so on. So it feels a bit back to front when you first put it on. You get used to that pretty quickly, so it's not a major issue. Comfort wise on this shoulder, but obviously it's a much lighter setup, so that shouldn't really be a major issue anyway. That's the whole point of it. I went for, must have been a good 4 or 5 mile walk. Had it on for a good hour or so, admittedly not with the camera in all of the time, because sometimes I have the camera in my hand, obviously using it, but I suffer with bad shoulders and bad back, and it wasn't massively uncomfortable from that point of view. It did start straying after a while, but I would expect that from any bag with my neck, so that's not really a criticism of the bag itself. What I did find is, because it's going diagonally, if you keep stuff like a wallet or sunglasses or anything like that in the top pocket of your jacket or something, then it cuts across there, so you have to move that, otherwise it's really uncomfortable. Again, not a major problem, but just something to bear in mind, and you would probably get that with most rucksacks anyway. Overall, I think it's a really good bag, and I think it's going to work well and hopefully encourage me. You shouldn't rely on gear, but hopefully encourage me to actually come out and just do quicker, more kind of informal kind of videos like this and actually get out and shoot, which is what it's all about. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you have, then please hit that like button, and if you're interested in seeing other videos I make, then please consider subscribing to my channel. But most of all, thanks for watching.